What's mission prep? Tell me what that's all about.
Dumb lost it. Thank you for joining us. It's over. Edit this out. We're done.
My own voice.
Same, dude. So I feel like I sound like a frog, dude. But then everybody listens is like, no, actually your voice is soothing. I'm like, get fucked. You're being nice because
I don't think anybody
Agreed
likes their own
and
voice.
there's something about that.
Yeah.
I know that there's an actual thing.
Well, we're not narcissists. We're not Marines.
Yeah.
Well, no, like because I go back and edit these, and
Yeah.
in the beginning, dude, it was rough. I'm listening to my voice talk, and I'm like, I sound like an idiot.
So, yeah.
And I've gotten almost used to just hearing it play back because that's part of it, but I still don't like it. And
So-
then I had to get used to seeing myself, which I don't like.
I'm gonna be weird for a second.
Be weird, dude. You're always weird.
I have gay sims all the time. You look super familiar, so I'm just trying to figure out if I ever ran across you in the military, or it's just like we're both white guys
Benning the entire time,
the entire time.
except DC for 2 years in the beginning.
What about on deployment?
When did you deploy?
So I deployed 3 times. So it would have been, let's see, most of 7, 8, 9, 12, 13.
Okay, I deployed in 2008, 2009, and 11 to 12.
8, 9 was, oh God, I'm not going to remember the name.
I was in Diyala.
Fob Echo, Diwania province, Southern Iraq. I was Iraq for
Right.
everything.
Okay, I was in
Did you contract?
no.
Oh, okay.
Where'd you go to sniper school?
I went to cyber school class 311.
Okay, so no, I guess not. That was actually, I went 2010. Okay, we were just a big, tall, fucking white guy. Who looks like
Maybe. I was at the school. I helped out the schoolhouse a shit ton too.
that. Oh, did you?
Because I was on Benning and Sergeant First Class Dove. He was the NCOIC at the
I know
time.
Dove.
Yeah, he was just here day before yesterday.
Was
He's
he?
like one of my closest friends.
Cool.
Yeah. So Dove was the NCOIC. So I just built a friendship with all them. I was like the little shithead who had like a lot of friends way outside of my rank, which pissed off a lot of people, which now looking back, I could have done things a little bit more tactful. I don't know why. I just always got along with older people.
Same.
But no, so Dove was one of my good buddies and met him obviously through sniper school. And then I contracted with his little brother. Well, not little, but he's like my age.
Okay.
Well, I was 3 years younger than me, but then I contracted with Devin Dove, which is his younger brother, who's also a sniper.
Oh, cool.
So then we were with SOC together on DDM team.
Oh, nice.
And then Devin came on. Then when I had my first daughter, I got out of contracting.
Okay.
And then
I always think it's funny because they're like, you obviously have a good idea. Like actually my father-in-law, we talked about this earlier. My father-in-law was actually in the first sniper school class in 87 when he was an RI at the time. It's kind of neat, but it's how small of a world it is. Like, okay, if 15 to 23 guys graduate and there's 5 or 6 schools a year since 1987, you can pretty much have a red vest man. How many beat Bravo 4s are out there or Bravo 8s? Yeah.
I did 10 straight weeks. When people were like, how long was cyber school? I'm like 10 weeks.
No,
and
same.
I always love it because people try to get like, oh, well, that's not. I'm like, oh no, actually it is because I did 10 straight weeks
Yeah.
because they let me stay.
Same.
So I did everything but graded events. No, right. What got you? Wait, are we going?
Yeah,
Oh no shit. I didn't know if
So-
y'all did like intros and stuff.
So
My,
I will, because I've been explaining this to every guest. I wasn't doing intros. We would just get right into conversation, which I like. But some of our guests I could tell they're like, "What? You're not going to introduce me?" And then I had a couple people that listen say, "Hey, you might want to introduce him because if we don't read the description, we don't know who you're talking to." I'm like,
It's hard if
it's
you
like,
don't.
yeah, that makes
introduce.
sense. So our guest today is Lucas O'Hara. He is the man when it comes to forging metal. His company is Grizzly Forge, and he also works with Black Rifle Coffee.
That is correct.
And we are in his shop, and it's pretty fucking cool.
Welcome, guys.
The
It's a
deep
pleasure.
laboratory. Yeah.
So for you not watching the video, that sucks for you because it's pretty cool. But so introduction. There you go.
Hell yeah. I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, I feel like this is podcast stuff.
Yeah, we were doing that, like just boom, right? Which I don't mind that when I listen to a podcast, but
But definitely don't cut this stuff out.
no, I'm not cutting anything.
Good.
I don't cut anything out.
Choke you. So obviously, remember how you 550 corded your partner's dope book around your neck?
Yep.
So I should have been more responsible and checked mine from his more often. So he was actually on our team. Like we were friends, but he's like one of those. He's like Travis Barker, full of tats, the quietest guy on the planet. And I failed shoot one. I was like, I'm the best fucking shooter on this team. Like, how did I? What was I missing? Like, I don't get it. My fundamentals are solid, and I was like, I fucking failed it. I went and signed the paperwork with what was his name? The civilian. I don't remember his name. The coolest guy. But anyway,
Stan.
So I signed. That sucks. And then one of the instructors is like, dude, he's like, we built a rapport, and he was like, because he's from Alaska originally, where I was stationed. And he was like, what the fuck happened? Like, you're solid. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, you know what? He goes over to him. He grabs my fucking dope book. It's empty, dude. Empty. He's like, this motherfucker. And he's like, you signed the papers. Like, I'll go talk to them right now. And they're like, that was the deal they made. They said, keep him on the entire class and he'll join the next one. And so the next one was just a cakewalk, dude, because I was good at everything. The stocks, especially, I loved going where no one else went and just fucking making it almost impossible. And that's where I'd go. And I would pass with stocks, but anyway, yeah. So short story long. What got you?
It was target detection.
Okay.
So I was off a grid. So my last number on my grid was off, and it like broke my heart. Like I was so upset because that's all I ever wanted to do was be a sniper.
Yeah.
And then when that happened, I was super, super bummed about it. And then I can't remember, like the civilian instructors out there are so amazing.
Yeah.
Like they're the absolute best. I'm pretty sure it was Blaine, but one of
Blaine,
the older gentlemen was just like, don't beat yourself up.
Mhm.
And he named some super awesome dudes. He's like, he failed this, he failed this, he failed this. And he's like, you got this. Cause he could tell I was like heartbroken.
Yeah.
Cause I had done so well so far and everything else. And I was trying like the hardest I'd ever tried in the school. And then they're like, yeah, you can stay for all the events. You just can't do the graded event. So I would just sit there and like on the little FTX, because my class, they started introducing like an FTX at the end. And I've heard it's changed even more.
Yeah, we did it to the overnight one.
Yeah, well, it was like, no, this was like a few days.
Oh, a few
like,
days.
yeah,
Okay.
it was like 3 or 4 days, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
And it was the first intro to that. But yeah, so I just kind of like hung out with the RIs and like helped with the camp and like helped drive trucks around and just was like, I guess the sniper school bitch for a while. But it was really rad. And like, it was cool because I got to learn so much, because once the stress of like, I have to pass, I have to do this great, all of that kind of went away.
Right.
And I got to actually learn, which was really good for me. And then that class graduated and I picked back up, I think 2 days later.
Okay.
And then was lucky, went all the way through that whole one and then graduated. But it was also like our class was the tail end of what is the name of that? Surviving the Cut. They had just filmed Surviving the Cut at the schoolhouse, and then my class picked up. So they were still like had like B-roll guys and picking up with like the guys who had failed and then rolled over into my class because they were actually on the show.
Right.
So there was a little bit of that. So they were tweaking and changing a few things, but it was really cool. But what was wild was when my class graduated, you remember you do like the little after action report, fill out like, this is what you think. A lot of dudes were just like, this school was a fucking joke. It was super easy, like went shitty. And then we had Sergeant Rademacher. He was, and it's so funny, like I can't remember shit, but there's certain names I'll never forget. But Rademacher, he was trying out for RRD. And so he was on their training cycle for that. And it really pissed them off that so many people were like, this school's a joke. So my first class was like more gentleman course. And then my next class, we started with a 20-mile ruck march.
Fucking same.
And
So weird.
it was like, I was kind of comfortable of like, this is how it is. I've already been here. I feel comfortable about this. And it was like going to a brand new sniper school, because I was like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Because they were a little heated about some of the reactions. Like, all right, if y'all want a hard school, like we'll do a hard school. And so it started off pretty heavy and then mellowed out. Cause I mean, there were guys deploying. We had 3 guys. I think they left like within a week after, straight to sniper teams. So it's like, it's not like Ranger school or Seer school where it's like, just try to get them to quit. It's like, we actually need to teach these guys correctly so that when they deploy, they're straight on teams and they're good to go.
So if you were to 2011, you're probably one of the last classes before it switched to 7 weeks then.
I feel like that was a little after me. I feel like that was like a year or so after. I might be completely off, but
Yeah, 'cause
I can't remember.
I met a guy so when I got to Afghanistan, a couple weeks after, we had to go back to CAF to get the XM 300s, the XM 24s, and I can't remember the guy's name there. The one full of tats. He had a girl's name. Anyway, he was like, "Oh, it's at 7 weeks now." I was like, "Oh shit," which was kind of cool, but so weird though, because mine 2010, same thing. My first one, I was like, so everyone was an adult. Second one, we had an RI of all people breaking fucking so many rules that we were getting fucked up. Like because of him running on a stalking course and we didn't dime him out. He was a little bitch anyway. We were doing everything in ghillie suits in the middle of the fucking summer, obviously. Like we were eating chow in the prone on the fucking main road in ghillie suits. Everything we did just because of guys like that. So it's the same thing. We went from like gentleman's school to like, all right, motherfuckers, like we're gonna babysit you, Like,
yeah, and I was like, oh, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore.
like, they shouldn't have to be like that.
I liked it before, like when it wasn't like this.
Yeah.
But no, I really enjoyed it, and I love stalking. Like that's
Yeah.
that's my favorite thing to do on the
Yep.
face of the planet. So like, and I took a lot of pride
Mhm.
in that. In my ghillie suit, and we were winter, so we were at the end of winter, so it was way harder.
Yeah.
Just because there was nothing, and a lot of the lanes, the stock lanes that we use were burn lanes.
Okay.
So there just wasn't that much. And our ghillie wash was like borderline not good. Cause like they did it because obviously that's tradition. They run
Yep.
the fire hydrant all night long to fill up the trench.
Mhm.
And I think when we started, it was like high 40s when we did.
Oh.
And then it was one of those like, all right, everyone get in. We started. And I'll never forget that cold. Like that was the coldest I've ever been in my life. Cause like when you jump in, it's like that deep pit first, and then you start the low crawling.
Yeah.
It's like super deep. You go all the way underwater and then come out and start crawling. And when we did that first run, we got out, and I've never uncontrollably shook that hard. And you're supposed to do it like 3 or 4 times. We only did it twice. And
Okay.
then they were smoking us in between, not because we did anything wrong, but I think it was one of those like moments where they're like, oh, we might have fucked up, because like we were borderline hypothermic shock. So we went back up, and they were like, keep running, guys. And you could see the instructors like talking to each other like, hey, we need to get this shit like fixed. We couldn't even like open our lockers because like our hands were shaking so bad.
Yeah.
And so got all our stuff, and then all the RIs came down, all the instructors came down and hung out in our little bay and watched us shower and get warm, because they're like, we can't have anyone, because we had one guy go into shock.
Mhm.
And then he actually didn't even have to go to the hospital, but it just wasn't the greatest time.
Yeah.
But now looking back, like it's my favorite thing,
Yeah.
because it's like that sucked so bad, but then it was not fun.
How many people get to build a ghillie suit with their bare hands and then go test it out?
I know.
Mine survived 2 ghillie washes without any tears.
I still,
'cause-
mine's literally in the back of my truck.
Yeah.
So I still have my ghillie suit from the schoolhouse that I wore overseas and everything. And then I got into making ghillie suits. So
Yeah.
then being on Benning, I would make them, then sell them to students.
Yeah.
So make a ghillie suit for like 400, 450.
So did you still do it the conventional way, with canvas and sew it, shoe a goop over top of the sew? Okay, because that's what I did, and I'd never had issues. Everyone's that fell apart were obviously ones they bought, or just ones they were just like doing shitty ass.
And I'm a
Cool.
nerd. So like I did
Yeah.
eat way more than that.
Oh yeah.
And it was like at the end where before it was like really heavy jute,
Mhm.
but then they were kind of testing a theory, and me and 2 other guys were allowed to do it, where like mine set up literally the same way it was then. And it's like I only had like 10% non, and then 90% was regular. So
Okay.
10% artificial, and then the rest was my surroundings, and it worked so much better. So the whole back of mine's like 550 cord everywhere for tie downs. And then I have like the whole back is a mesh so it can breathe.
Mhm.
So I have like a BDU, or I'm sorry, a AC or a multicam mesh down the whole back end. And then I've got like little things for rounds on my side, and
Yeah.
made loops. And I also made mine so I could pull it over my uniform.
Yep.
So do you remember where they're like, all right, guys, you have 10 minutes to, or however, 10 seconds to get in your suit? I was always the first one, because I made zippers that ran all the way up my calf.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to take my boots off. So I was always the first to have it done, because I got fucked up a lot in the first class for that.
Mhm.
And then the second class, I was like, fuck all these
Yeah.
guys. Like I'm making mine. I could pull it
Dude,
over my stuff.
I legitimately sewed. I just took some fabric and put it on top and sewed it in just for a can of chew. It was on the inside of my arm. It's like some people have a map. don't need a fucking map. I just like went you out and I was laying there, just like went in when I was talking. It's perfect. Yeah, it's those little things, you know.
It's funny how it's like there's a lot of damn people that have been in the military, but a lot of guys are connected somehow.
Yeah, well,
Like you guys know some of the same people.
I guess that's where I was starting with, because like there's so few. Like for instance, my company commander to put me in a team was a CO at sniper school. So there's even less officers that are Bravo 4 qualified, and he's happened to be one of them. So we had to read Sniper on the Eastern Front. That was like, you have to fucking read this thing before you go, because that's a brutal fucking book, right? And when you get out, you realize, everybody's a sniper. You run into someone like, oh yeah, my brother's a recon sniper or something. It's like, no, there's not that many fucking Bravo 4s, and by my calculations, there's about 47,000 at this point. Everybody's full of shit. And I don't get why everyone has to like fake this ego. It's like, it's not a very good job. It sucks. I'd rather be like, you know what? My favorite job was a saw gunner. Actually, it was being a sniper, but biggest saw gunner was fucking tits. Running around with a machine gun in Iraq was awesome, you know? And I just don't get why everyone's got to fake the funk all the time, you know?
I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like even when I was in, like now it was a really cool chapter in my life, but like it's done.
Yeah.
Like, and I see so many guys, like it's defines who they are, like military got, like if I meet someone and the first 5 minutes he goes, so who are you with? Where are you at? One, my memory is horrible. So like even the dates of my deployments, I guarantee some of those are wrong. I don't remember. I just don't. Like you could pull up my DD 214. That's right.
Yeah.
Like you could pull that up and look and all my shit's there, but I just don't remember, because it's like, I'm the kind of person where you say, hey, Luke, this is what you got to get done this week. And I'll focus on that. But when I'm done, it's like, okay, what's next week? And whatever I did that week is gone. I've been that way my entire life. And then memory and brain issues since then. And not even from like, only one of them is from the military. The rest is from rugby. So like rugby is not good for TBI. And especially like the position I played. And it's just like, I don't remember a lot. So it's not even worth having those conversations a lot of time for me, because one, people are going to call bullshit. Because you know, when you meet someone, you're like, so who are you with? And they're like, I do that already. So it's like, and then I don't want it. Then now it's like, okay, well now I have to defend myself. I have to pull up pictures. I have to show you my paperwork, and I'm not walking around with my credentials in my back pocket.
We've had that conversation out here, because Kevin's one just like yourself, who that was a chapter in his life. And that's not you anymore. It's not what you do.
No, I'm not going to be 80 years old and be like,
dude, I haven't heard Kevin talk so much about his military service till we started this podcast, and we've been friends for a long time.
To vets.
But it's because we're talking to vets. We're talking about that. It's not something he just brings up to somebody.
Well, and it's fun. Like I haven't talked about cyber school in a long time. So it's like,
and
it's fun, but at the same time, we live in such a culture that's like, everybody has to like have clout. And it's like, I did this, I did that. Military, not military, whatever it is. And for me, it's just, judge me on like just who I am like right now.
Yeah.
Like not so much of like who I did, what I did, but because like I haven't shot a long gun in 3 years. So here's the other thing. Let's say you're like, oh, you're a sniper. I start talking to you, find out you're some amazing competition shooter. And then you invite me out to your range. And then I get there and I haven't shot a long gun in 3 years.
Right.
So now I'm like pulling out all my old dope books, trying to like, I still have my little sniper card, like my cheat sheet.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm going to look like a moron because I talk so much about something I did. I used to deadlift, close to 600 pounds. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to walk up to a bunch of power lifters and be like, oh yeah, I did blah, 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 blah. Because I would be lucky to get 225 off the ground right now. I couldn't do 135 with my back.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just kind of how I view it when it's with friends or good guys. I don't mind, because I know you're not going to sit here and like hold it against me or like, oh, you said 2007, 9. It actually was 2008. It's like, I'm sorry. I don't remember.
Honestly, I think on one of our first podcasts, I did the same thing, because someone asked me, where'd you deploy in Afghanistan? And I said, Diyala province. Like, oh, wait, that's what I read. So I went to Iraq. And I never corrected myself. I was like, Diyala province. Like, oh, wait, and I was in the Horn of Panjwai in Afghanistan. I didn't even catch myself. So now it looks like, he's full of shit. Yeah. Because that's in Iraq, not Afghanistan. Same thing.
Those people that think it's full of shit, like, fuck them. Who cares?
Well, if they thought it was full of shit, Mario came on and was
that was the idea. So
we just talked about murdering people.
One of his best friends who he served with was a guest, and it was kind of cool because I felt like for Kevin, it kind of validated what he's done in the past. Because I just sat back and listened.
I wasn't
talk,
trying
man.
to. We just went.
But that's what happened,
yeah.
And you guys went down memory lane, and anybody that was doubting what you've done in the past can fuck off. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I don't care.
And who cares? It's in the past.
And like you said, all I care is right now, like face value. Like, oh, you seem like a really cool fucking dude.
Yeah.
Now I want to know more about you versus, hold on, what degree do you have? What's your military experience? And then I'll see if I like you.
Yeah.
Like, fuck ingenuous people like that. I don't want anything to do with
Well,
them.
that's with this
know?
podcast. That's what.
That's one of the greatest things I've actually ever heard. Like, that's perfect. I try to explain that to people all the time. I have friends that are A-list celebrities, that are gangbangers, that are homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I have friends across the board. I don't give a fuck what you've done in your life, what you are now. I just care about being a rad
Yep.
human.
Yep. Same.
And I don't need to know, especially like being a bodyguard for as long as I have. I don't watch any sports, and being in Atlanta, I worked with a lot of Falcons players, and it always blew their minds. Like, I worked for Devontae Freeman for a few years, one of our running backs, big one at the time. And I thought he played soccer the first time I met him. Like, I had no idea. And he was like, motherfucker, you know who I am? I was like, no. Like, I thought you were like a soccer player or something. And that's something he joked about me with forever.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I don't care. You're just a really awesome dude. You listen to what I say, which is the only way I picked my clients, is like, if you do exactly what I tell you, we're going to be fine. I don't want to take a bullet for you. I'm not one of these, 6'9", 400-pound dudes that looks the part. I'm blessed to have my size, especially at that time when I was lifting really heavily. But it's that mindset. If you look at any, for the most part, A-list celebrities bodyguard, they look like Evan Hafer. Like, they're small, little bitty people, because the whole point is to get your client out of a situation before you're even in a situation.
Yeah.
The guy who tries to posture and be the big, tough, scary guy, maybe they have street cred because they took a couple bullets for TI or whoever they're bodyguarding for. I don't want to get shot.
Right.
So I'd rather get you out of the club 10 minutes before there was a mass shooting or a stabbing.
Yeah, make it a thinking man's game.
Exactly. And like I said, I was blessed to have the size, but it's all about just your brain and building a legitimate relationship with your client. If you're lucky enough to not work for a company, freelance like I did. But the whole point of all that is, doesn't matter who you are or what you do. I like people.
Yeah. Same.
And
that's
good
something
people
on
are
here.
the best.
Like, we've as of lately had some like super impressive people coming on our podcast. That wasn't the goal of this. It's not about what they've done. Not about the companies they run. Yeah, we talk a little bit about that, but it's about, like, are they a good person?
Getting to know them.
Well, and like, so
You know?
prime example, because we had Evan on, right? And the reason I reached out to him was because I heard your episode of Free Range American with him, and I heard what he did for you and how he helped you out.
Yep.
And I was like, fuck. And I'd heard, he's a good dude before, but hearing your story about how he helped you out, he offered for you to move to Salt Lake. And,
I'm one of hundreds.
yes. And hearing all that, I was like, okay, that's a good dude. And then I reached out to him, and I was amazed he even replied. And that's been really cool on this podcast, is we've gotten a bunch of people on who, they've done impressive things. They have impressive businesses. They do, but they're, so far, everybody's a really good person.
Well, that's the thing too, is because of, how I am, and some of the people have been listening to, like, I'm an asshole and I'm intense, but I'm always going to be there for someone who I really care about, even people I don't know. But the thing is, if I vote with my dollars. I don't just, like, obviously I'm wearing North Face right now. I don't really believe in the company, but I have it, right? But when it comes to spending quality money, I got to know the people first. It's like, oh, would I buy one of your knives? Now that I've met you or like heard you on podcasts or seen, some social media, like, fuck yeah.
Well,
like, I'll push my money that direction. You know what I mean?
Well, but that was something that I wanted to push across. So being in my position, especially now, I've been very blessed to get to meet and be around a lot of people I looked up to via social media. And then when I met them, they sucked. And I was like, okay, well, I thought you were this person, but obviously you're not, and it's all fake.
Mm-hmm.
And that motivated me, especially early on, and why I could tell y'all 100. I could literally probably come up with 100 names of blacksmiths that are 1,000 times better than me. The reason I think I'm doing so well is because who you see on my Instagram is exactly who you see in real life.
Dude, I told Kevin, because like I said, I listened to Free Range, and I told him about who you were. And the whole way here, I was telling him, like, dude, he's a positive person. Every time I've talked to you on the phone.
I hate that. I hate it. I hate hearing that I'm positive. I tell my wife this all the time. There's a huge difference. So I hate that. I
Okay,
hate
a happy person.
happy. Yeah. So I think the thing that, and I wish my memory's better. Somebody described me perfectly the other day, and I was like, I need to write that down, and I didn't. When I hear positive person, I think of that person who's like, it's okay, just look on the bright side, or it's okay, something good's going to come out of it. That's not me. It's that I've been through so much shit, and I've been kicked down. I've almost taken my life. I've gone so fucking dark on all the weird stuff that happens to me. It's a joke. Like anytime I do anything, people are like, don't do it, you're going to get hurt. Like just, if it's going to go wrong, it's going to go wrong to me. The difference is how you get back up.
Yeah.
And after so much shit has happened, you just know something's going to come out of it.
Mhm.
Like breaking my back last year saved my marriage. It saved my business. It brought my family together. It made me, it was the biggest life-changing moment of my entire life. 2020 was the best year of my life because I was forced to sit on my couch for 3 months, be in my own head, which I hate to be. And it made me a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So positive, that could be construed as positive, but it's like
We say
when
resilient.
something bad happens,
Resilient's a
I
good
just
word.
don't let it affect me.
Well, like what I mean by positive is even in shitty situations, you found a positive. You found a positive thing about breaking your fucking back, which there's not much positive about that, but you looked deep into yourself.
I just don't want to come off as like obnoxious.
No, dude, like
because I am a negative person a lot of the time.
I think from my perspective, it is resiliency because
I like
same
that,
thing.
resiliency.
I've been through, going through shit right now.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to show how much it sucks. I'm maybe trying to be somewhat professional in here. Maybe not the cuss words I use and all that bullshit, but I guess it was just like my overall mood. But it's like, well, am I going to adapt and be resilient, or am I going to be a little fucking pussy? That's what I kind of tell myself. Like, it's okay to be a human and have emotions, but am I going to reside in that? Am I going to be so introspective and just ruminating on those ideas, or am I going to be like, make this a better person, move on, get better? And so that anyway, you need negativity for that. Because I can't just say, Kevin, you're awesome. Be grateful for 3 things every day. You'll get through this.
See, that's what I think of when I hear positive.
So like,
right.
let me clarify more. Like you said, what you see on your social media is what you get 100%. Because I've been following you for a while. I see your posts. You always seem so happy, and
because life's good.
And then I talk to you on the phone, and I feel happier after I got on the phone with you the couple times we talked, because you don't fucking know me. And as soon as you answer, how's it going, man? How are you? You're like very personable and you're very happy. And that's what I mean by positive.
Right.
Like you've been through so much shit in your life. And this is a common thing on our podcast. We've talked about 1,000 times that struggle makes you stronger. That's just a fact. And once you get through it and you find a way through it, like you said, other things seem like a joke. You've been through fucking hard times. And that's been a theme on this podcast with people who have shitty times in life, including myself and Kevin. Like, it makes you more grateful for things that are going on now.
And it also lets you know you're not alone.
Yeah.
Like, I think the reason I've gotten in the mindset that I am is like this wall behind us, there's a purpose for it. Every single banner, every flag, everything on my wall is either a gift from somebody I look up to or a business that I have a personal relationship with. And when I get in my feels, when I have that bad day, when I fuck a knife up, when things aren't good, I look at my wall and I'm like, okay, well, Bert, I guarantee he's not crying, tacticalaries, it's just like everybody is here. And it just reminds you like, oh yeah, they sucked. Like they went through this shit. So many people, I always go to hunting. So many people show that massive trophy animal. And that's all their Instagram is trophy animal, life is good. This is awesome. They don't show the 6 weeks they were sucking, or, that hunting trip where they were out for 5 days and 30 degrees miserable before they got that. You'll look at it, you'll go out in a day and you're like, oh, I didn't get it. And it's like, oh, well, I didn't know that he was out there for 5 days.
Yes.
And it's I didn't know you went through that. And that's where the more honest approach I do, it's very hard for me. Like when I'm around people, I have no problem talking and I'll walk right up to you, shake your hand, get to know you. But it's hard for me to put myself out there. But before Black Rifle even came along, there's a company called Flag Nor Fail, Rob and Daniel and Bailey. And Rob was always so open with the struggle. Slept on my couch. We were bankrupt 3 times. Like I lost everything. And now they're an unbelievably successful company, but he was open about the struggle, open about the failure. Black Rifle came along, Evan. I did this. I worked. I think he worked every single day for the first like 4 or 5 years, like did not take a break. And you see the struggle and how hard, because they're open with it.
Yeah.
And then you go, okay, if they did it, look what they have now. You didn't know that he had 20 billion businesses before this one, that none of them did unbelievable like Black Rifle did. When people only show the goodness, you don't realize all the shit they went to get there. Same with me.
And you're crippling them. Like I have 2 kids and I absolutely don't do that. Here's my trophies, or I don't have money, but here's my money. You know, like, no, I show them the path, because the path is where it's beautiful, because it fucking sucks. You got to sweat, you got to suffer. Even for small things like getting a trophy buck, whatever, but it is about the path. It's not the trophy. If you focus too much on the trophy, you're going to become too entitled. You won't work for anything. Like, I don't give a fuck about the trophy. You know, what path are you going to take, and how hard can we, what kind of stimulus can I give to push them? You know, when it comes to like kids or being a mentor to people, you know, that's a whole nother factor out there. You know, it's really about the path.
And then there's a common thing of like jealousy. So if I only showed all the good stuff, let's say somebody who's becoming a new knife maker or something comes up and he's like, oh, his knife sold out in 2 minutes. Fuck this guy. Like blah, blah, blah. But if I'm actually me and I share all the times they don't, or I share when I broke one or something didn't work, or I truly believe I'm not that good of a blacksmith yet. I have so much to learn, but I'm trying my best. And I'm very blessed to be in a position with Black Rifle, with who I am just in general, to try to help as many people as I can. And then once you do that, now you're building a community and a brotherhood, and not just looking after yourself and being open about that kind of stuff. The hard things, the mental issues, the struggles we have, like, especially as a parent, like I pride myself on the kind of father I am, because it's all I've ever wanted to do. Not so much like I wasn't one of those guys that's like, I have to have kids, but I knew if I had them, I wanted to do it right.
Yeah.
Because I was blessed to have such an amazing father. When he passed away, the only memory, my dad was killed when I was 13, and I have the greatest memories of him because he gave a shit. Instead of so many people are focused on making a great future for their children, that they're not actually living in their lives. So like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work my ass off. This is all for you. We can relax one day. How do you know that you have tomorrow?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my best to be present in my kids' lives as much as I can, because if God forbid my card gets called, I want them to have the best memories. Like yesterday, I'm super swamped right now because of my injury. Like now I'm trying to get caught up. Was in here working on Sunday. You know, Evan was here with the kids and they had dirt bikes and everything. And for me, it was like, okay, I need to keep working, but I'm going to have the family come out and we're going to play out here and we're going to cook out and I'm going to spend time with my daughters and make those memories.
Yeah.
Because I worked 70 hours this last week.
Right.
And I wouldn't have never known that if I didn't have mentors like Bert Sorensen, like Brent Burns, like Evan, like these guys who are super important in my life that I look up to as men, as fathers, as business owners, because of how humble they are. There's a joke every time I see Bert Sorensen, he's like, literally, like, I look up to that man so much. We cry almost every time we see each other, not when we see each other, but we are going to have a conversation at some point where he and I are hugging each other, choking up. And it's always a joke. Like, can I get through this trip without like breaking down at some point? Because so many people are like, we have to be these big, tough, badass guys. Like, fuck that. Like, I love you, bro. Give me a hug. Like, are you doing okay? How's your family? How's the wife? How's the kids? Like, you know, I know you used to struggle with women. Like, how you doing with that? Like, are you being good? Like, that's the accountability that I got from some of my closest friends that got me on this path. Now it's my turn to turn around and try to help out as many people as I can, or at least be open to those conversations. To meet a guy who's like this super tough dude. And then I've got him opening up about how he thinks he's a horrible dad.
Right.
And it's like, no, dude, like I fucking did that too. Like, it's all good.
That's another thing we've talked about on here a lot. Like, we both have tattoos. You look a little rough. Dude, I don't care. Like, if I just met you, I give you the biggest hug ever. Like, and I'll tell everybody, I fucking love this guy. Because this big tough guy thing, those guys aren't usually tough guys. They're usually scared.
They're afraid of being vulnerable. They're afraid
scared.
of having humility.
Yeah.
And so it's like, do you fight them? Like, I mean, emotionally, do you fight? Do you resist that person? Or do you understand he's scared?
Yeah.
He can't be vulnerable. He's a 12-year-old trapped in a man's body. How do I help this motherfucker?
Mm-hmm.
But they can't be helped if they can't be vulnerable, right? They'll just
Because
attack you.
we've been there.
Yes.
Like,
Well, and
I was that guy.
like
Hypermasculine
just
environment.
even
right?
conversations me and you have had over the past couple of years, like you going through the struggles you've gone through. It's cool to watch, like Kevin, who he was trying to be a tough guy, but he just wouldn't talk to anybody. It was like, I'm keeping all this in my fucking head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not healthy for anybody. It's just not. And I know it's not easy to talk about shit. And I'm not even talking about like his military stuff. I'm talking about just stuff in his personal life.
What,
Oh,
it,
for
what,
sure.
it, what it leads to is what happened this last year.
Yes.
You go into the hospital for legitimately just having such a bad panic
Yes.
attack that was it angina or AFib or something, whatever. The EMT was like, "Oh yeah, you need to fucking go."
But you went
know?
from that to like not even talking to some of your closest friends to we're on a podcast with all these people listening we don't even know. And he just comes out and tells everybody on the podcast, I'm going through a divorce. I'm doing, and I was like, oh, I did not expect Kevin to be that open.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about transparency on here because we're getting a little bit of a following of people listening to us. And some of them we know, a lot of people we don't know. And it was very transparent of him to just say that. And I was like super proud of him because I think it's like you said, it's important for let people see, especially people that are following you online who don't know you in real life.
It's not just for everyone else, it's for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've been in therapy for close to 8 years now, and it saved my life.
Yeah.
Like you can't hold all that shit in. And even if it's not a therapist, you need those 4 or 5. I've got about 5 to 6 guys in my life that I can call anytime, any day, and they're there for me. And sometimes it's just a quick checkup, like, hey, we're doing good. Sometimes it's a 30, 40, 50-minute conversation where I can talk to them and they're not going to judge me.
Right.
Because we struggle with the shit every single day. And you need those people to be accountable, to have your back. Like, I don't ever want to be famous is the easy word, but I don't want to be the biggest personality in the room ever or in my community. I always want guys around me that I can look up to, because if I'm the lead in my pack, I have no one to rely on.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always gonna, and there's always someone better than you. I'm always gonna keep adding up so that I have those people that have already been there ahead of me. And then when I'm struggling and I'm hurting, I can go to, especially in my relationship, because women have been my biggest downfall in life. I've never drugs, never out, like nothing I ever struggle with except women, and staying faithful in relationships, and not just physically, but emotionally, text message, talking, and flirting. I'm a flirtatious person by nature, but you have to realize, like, it can really, really hurt people. And when you think, oh, I didn't do this, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't work. So for me to be in a healthy relationship, to be with the love of my life and the mother of my children, I need to figure this out. I need people in my life that if I'm struggling, that if I'm hurting, that if, let's say that life's been busy, we haven't had sex in 2 weeks, I see a pretty girl, I'm like, oh, what's up, girl? What's your name is?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. It's like, okay, no, I'm good. Now I'm not going to put myself in those situations. I'm not going to go to the bar, at 1 a.m., to grab a couple of drinks and see what happens. It's okay. I've got these steps in here, and I've got my buddies that'll hit me up and say, hey bud, how you doing? How's life going? Like, you being good? You struggling? Anything going on? And I haven't struggled since my wife and I've been back together. And it's been amazing because I have those mentors. And guess what? Half of my mentors are in unbelievable relationships, and they fucked up, and they've told me about their mistakes and how they got there, where I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, y'all are perfect. You've been together 20 years. Like, life's good. And he's like, bro, we didn't talk for 1.5 years and we lived in the same house. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
And then when people are open and they want to share those moments, then you get oh, it's not just me. That literally ties in with this whole conversation so far, as like, oh, I'm not alone. You did this. Oh shit. Okay, well, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will give up because they think something's wrong with them. I thought something was wrong with me. Like, I thought that I was like, never forget, I was talking to my therapist and I was like, I think I'm a sex addict. And she laughed in my face. And she was like, you are so far from that. You're just a dude. And I was like, what? No, it's so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. She's like, I guarantee if you talk to them, they struggle with the same thing. And when I talked to them and brought it up, Same thing. She's like, sex addicts. I have a guy who I'm working with that he has sex 15, 20 times a day with different people.
Oh fuck.
That's a sex addict.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
that's a problem.
oh, okay. I'm okay. I don't have a problem. I'm
Yeah.
like, I
What-
thought I
yeah,
did.
What I did too, what I realized was it was a compensation. It was me looking for intimacy because there was no real intimacy, because there's a difference between intimacy and passion, right?
Yep.
And so you're trying to find intimacy through passion. So you're bottlenecking intimacy and passion together. So now you're looking for that. So you feel like a sex addict. Like, why do I always want you? It's like, well, because we're not having sex, we're distant. If we can just get closer together emotionally without having sex, now we don't need sex every day. Not like a sex addict. You know, that's a complete marriage. It's love. What's it? Love, passion, and intimacy. You gotta have all three, or else you're missing pieces, man.
And for some people, it doesn't work out, which is fine too, because
For sure.
sometimes you have to go the opposite
I've
direction.
done that too.
Yeah. And like that's what he's going through right now. And it's just like I'm that guy who is texting him all the time, like, "Are you good, man?"
Mhm.
We literally live like a street away from each other, but
Yeah.
I'll text him once a day, be like, "Hey man, how you doing? Are you good?" Because I know what he's going through right now, and he probably gets sick of me texting him. But
That's fine.
I'm
But
like,
those, but those people in your life are huge.
and for me, it's just like I want my friend to be happy, and we've gotten way closer over the past year because of shit's gone on in his life, and I've been through my own shit. Like I try to help him as much as I can, but I'm not a fucking therapist,
Yeah.
you know. But I do what I can. And then when it comes to like things like PTSD or blast injuries, I don't know anything about that life. I just don't. I was never in the military, but I just try to help him through like an anxiety attack or something.
Right. I just know they put me on fucking Clomid for my testosterone, like blast injuries.
Yep.
And it put me, it's like 1500. It was ridiculous, really quick. But it took my estradiol to like 85. So it was like I'm still trying to come down. I got fucking bitch tits. I was getting love handles. Like just get fat. I was like, dude, what the fuck's going on? He's like, oh, your estrogen's like really high. You think you have suicidal thoughts? Like, yeah, dude. Like,
Yeah.
So he gave me an estrogen blocker while I was getting off of it.
You sound like you need some HCG. Like you need some stuff to help out with that. Because I
Yeah.
ran steroids for 3 years.
Okay.
And it was like the reason I never had side effects is like my post-cycle therapy was so good because I'm like a nerd and I research anything that goes in my body for a very long time before I do it. But I would like my post-cycle therapy, I'd be running HCG the entire time. So just doing a pin in the stomach every day, and that kept your estrogen level so you didn't just drop, like lose that test and then skyrocket. Like that's how so many guys get screwed. So they'll run their cycle and then come off with nothing. And you cannot do that. That's where the real issues are. So you have to cycle down super carefully and then watch that estrogen level.
Yeah.
And for me, like that's the only reason why I had such good success is I wouldn't come off it. Like I'd do my cycle because I was running mainly test and trend. I do my cycle, come off, run HG or HCG the whole time leading up to my next round.
Yeah, okay.
So that's why I never had that struggle. But I've had a lot of friends that I've seen go through that. And that shit'll jack your brain up.
Yeah, because
Like,
it just if your estrogen's going up with your testosterone, why even be on testosterone? Because you're just gonna get fatter and be on testosterone. Cool, basically, or have testosterone.
Yeah.
So it was just a bad reaction. Essentially, the Clomid didn't work for me. So it's like, all right, well, we'll try to do this more natural way, which isn't really working because now my sleep's so fucked up. I can nap right now.
Well, we did drive 5 hours. Well,
I
actually
mean,
more than
the last 3 days, because it's been a month. I've the last 3 days I've taken naps in the middle of the day.
well, and low
Tired.
T is the worst.
Yeah.
Like it's just not a good feeling. And I struggled once I completely came off everything. And now I'm actually going to do it the right way and go like more TRT, like
Yeah.
get my testosterone levels and everything back up. Cause I weaned off leading up to my back injury. So I was 6 months strong in the gym, no longer on anything, was just doing like more hit training, high intensity, like wanted to get, when was the last time you saw like a really tall old person? Like I'm a Great Dane. Like we don't live that long.
how tall are you?
6'8", well 6'7".
Yeah.
I think I've lost an inch. I've told people I've 6'8" my whole life. And then my wife and I was like, you know what? I want to measure myself because someone called me out the other day and I was like, the army told me I was 6'8" and found out like I'm just over 6'7", like
Wow.
barely. And I'm like, man, I really need to get used to that. Like, cause I've said just 6'8".
Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, I'm like a little barely 6'7".
I've always said 6 foot and I'm like 5'11" and a half.
I just 5'11" too. Yeah.
But no, like you were just talking about, like having friends. That's huge. That's really big for people that are going through things. Even if you don't know the person that well, like if you have someone who's been through something and kind of guides you, that's a big help. Like I've had that in my life before too, and it's a huge help.
Just knowing you're not alone.
Yeah.
Like that people have been there before you and that you're going to get through it.
Mhm.
Like that's huge. And my wife and I, we weren't married yet, but we separated for an entire year. All of 2020, we were separated.
Okay.
And it was just one of those, we've been together for 7 years and have our 2 daughters and just never pulled the trigger on marriage. I did it really fast the first time and that ended horrifically. Lost my wife and my best friend at the exact same time and they ended up marrying each other.
Yeah.
So fun time on that one.
Yeah.
But I was in no rush to go down that rabbit hole again. And I just wasn't ready. And it got to the point where we were just arguing and fighting all the time. And we did what we tell everyone they should do, but it's a hard thing to do, where we were just like, this sucks. Like, let's end it now before we hate each other for the good of the kids so that we can be around each other, be great parents. Like I lived in the house for almost 3 months after we broke up of just like getting my shit together. And then I don't recommend that. That's not fun either, but we did it for the right reasons. And then me breaking my back and her just being away from me and figuring her shit out. We were very lucky that we ended up back together after a year, just because I was like, oh no, this is exactly what I want. Like it was the first time that I had been single and I didn't sleep with everything that was in 5 feet of me. And instead of going down the exact same path I always did, that obviously was failing, I listened, and COVID made it way easier because we broke up. I moved out, broke my back all within the first like 2 weeks of COVID.
Okay.
So like when I broke my back, I'd only been in my house for 2 weeks. So nobody was around, nobody could really do anything. And it forced me to really figure out who I was. And then thank God I did. And now I have my family back and everything, but you just got to be happy. I see so many people in shitty relationships that drag it out because they don't want to hurt somebody or because of family or kids or financials. Like
Bad idea.
just be happy.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I just helped some friends of ours out just recently where they've been struggling, cheating on their spouse or cheating on their significant others. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with you two liking each other. Like nothing. Like that's a good thing. Like, are you happy? Are you happy? I can see y'all are happy from a mile away. Be an adult, break up with your significant others. Then there's no more building a relationship off of bullshit.
Yeah.
You actually get to build a relationship naturally and be happy, because in the long run, you want to be happy or you're going to waste years of that person's time.
Why go through life miserable? And your kids are going to see you miserable.
Exactly.
And those are conversations Kevin and I have had a lot. It's like, like with my folks, my mom and dad divorced when I was really young. So I don't remember that, but I remember how happy my stepdad made my mom my whole life. So that's what I've strived to do for my wife. And I don't always make her happy, but I try, and I was talking to Kevin because he has kids, going through what he's going through. And I was like, sometimes you have to just cut ties, man, because they're going to see both of you miserable. There's that's not good for them either.
And the biggest and hardest thing in that is like never using the children against each other.
Yeah.
The second that starts happening is when and that's something I'll give Sydney, my wife now, is like, we never did that. And I mean, there were some times where it was like, she didn't want to look at me. But when our children were in the room, they never saw that. And she could say things that I knew that it cut deep and they wouldn't pick up on it. But we never did that in front of our children because she comes from a horrific divorced family and watched her parents use them against each other. And that was something that we swore that we would never do. And it's just being that good role model for your parents. And I mean, marriage sucks, especially nowadays. It is not easy. Like everyone's like, oh, you're so lucky. I was like, I'm not lucky. I work. Even to this day, my wife and I had an all-out conversation about a week ago where it was crying, whole 9 yards. Like, we're already back to these steps. How did we get here? And had a 2.5 hour long conversation where we yelled and cried and everything. And the last 2 weeks have been the best it's been since we got back together. And it's just, you have to wake up every day wanting to fight for that person. And if you don't want to fight, then you don't need to be with them.
Well, people always say, marriage is work. That's true. It's very true. You both have to put in the work too.
There's a lot
like if you're just doing it and she's not, it's not going to work.
And I
out.
fail a lot. Even now, like I fail every day at being a husband, a father.
I think like, everybody does. Just a lot of people don't admit that, unfortunately.
The biggest, the majority of arguments take place between couples. You can get rid of all that as a pattern. Everything that's verbally coming out, we speak God, I nerd too much. Sorry. We speak languages. They're all different across the world. We're using this to speak in a way that's a representation of what's in our mind. What's the mind trying to convey? Where is it suffering? Why is it turned off in certain areas? Why is it being reactionary versus responding? And we kind of boil it down to do I matter to you? All of these conversations and yelling and emotions we're having is your brain trying to signal, I feel like I don't matter to the other person. Why don't you put the dishes in the sink when you know I love when you put them in the dishwasher?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's knowing your love language.
You're right. Yeah. So like what makes you matter to me and vice versa? As long as I know that I matter to you, I'm secure. I don't think you're fucking around with anybody else. And I feel wholesome, right? If I don't feel like I matter, I can be a bitch to you all the time, or I can suppress it and then it will come out all at once. You know what I mean? So as long as we can understand that, and people in general, if you're having a hard time, that's what it's about. Do I fucking matter? And if I don't, then why are you with me?
Yeah.
You know?
And you have to, and you'll always 90% of the time you'll force your love language on your person. So for me, mine's physical touch, and not the art of sex. It's rubbing my leg, holding my hand, giving me a kiss, like little things. I'm the easiest person to be with. Like walk in the grocery store and hold my hand, I'm good for the week.
Yeah, it makes
Like it just makes me feel like I can't put it into words. I feel like a god. Well, I'll do that to Sydney and she could give a fuck. Like, okay, that was nice, but and I'm like, but I kissed you, I was holding your hand, I had you sit next to me, like,
because
what the hell? And she's like, you didn't do the dishes.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, acts of service,
Acts
like
of
that's and quality time. Those are your love language. Guess what? I work 70 hours a week. Quality time is not the best person to be with. So I have to make sure, like I come home and it's like, oh yeah, but we snuggled and watched a movie. Like, how do you not know I love you? And it's like, oh, because we didn't go to the park. We did it. And this pisses me off so much. It's the stupid flowers. If I had $1 for every time she's like, I just want flowers. Like, is it that hard? Like something that I could go to the grocery store, spend $15 on some roses, will send Sydney to the moon. I think it is the dumbest thing. I think flowers are the stupidest thing ever created.
They're just gonna
like
die.
I could do so much more for you than buy some dumb flowers.
Yeah.
But it's not about me. It's
Nope.
about what makes her happy. And same thing, like somebody could tell her, all you have to do is hold his hand. Like that's it. Like you don't want him to struggle or flirt with someone, hold his hand. And it might not work in her brain that way. That's like, oh, really? That's it? That's all I got to do? And vice versa. All I have to do is buy some flowers, remember to take the trash out in the morning, and make sure I take my shoes off and spray them so they don't stink and put them at the front door.
Yeah.
Like it's really easy, but it's not, because it's not what I would think to do. And that's what I was saying. Like, that's where the work comes in.
Well,
Like
a big part of the work is having that conversation with your significant other.
Yeah.
Like telling them like, hey, this is what makes me happy.
Well,
and listening to them when they tell you what makes them happy.
and also not being dismissive
Yeah.
when they tell you.
Big time.
I've been working so much like this. I can't believe I'm going to say this. Like, I just forget to brush my fucking teeth. Like I get into it. I come home, I'm exhausted. I'll smoke, hang out with the kids, go to bed. Like that's my ritual. And then like some mouthwash started showing up, like toothbrushes started being in every bathroom. And finally, like she just said, she's like, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say this. Your breath's starting to fucking stink. And I was like, oh my God. And it hurt. Like it hurt my feelings. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be that way. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like I maybe I forgot to brush my teeth like the last 2 days, but all right, I'm brushing my teeth 3 times a day now. Just because like I heard her. I was a little irritated at first, the way, because we were kind of in it. So it always comes out when you're in a little bit of an argument where it's like, okay, your breath fucking stinks, like a little stab. And then it's like, oh, but she's right. And I don't want to be like that. So that's why she hasn't been kissing me. Or that's why, when we are being passionate with each other, like, I like kissing you. Why aren't you doing it anymore? Oh, it's because I'm a dirty son of a bitch. Like my mouth stinks. So now using mouthwash, using dental floss, brush my teeth every day. My shit looks better. She's happy. And now things couldn't get better, but I had to be in a place where I was receptive to that.
Yeah, you can't just shut her down.
Instead of, oh, my teeth stink. Well, you, blah, 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 and now you're in a massive fight. Both of you are like, well, I'm not going to change. I ate a little bit of humble pie and was like, you're right, this is disgusting. I need to make the time for this. I apologize. And now I brush my teeth with my daughter. So I make sure I do it. And the first thing I do when I wake up, I brush my teeth. I'm 33 years old. I should not need someone to tell me when to brush my teeth. But it just wasn't on my this is super important
Right.
thing at the time. It's like, I have so many other things in my brain. Brushing my teeth was not one of them.
Yeah.
But now we're super happier. And like literally last night, I'm not even joking, I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom and she just popped in and she was like, "You are sexy as fuck." And I was like, "Really? This is what turns you on?" Like, I'm just brushing my teeth.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that was it. But that's all it takes is I got laid because I brushed my teeth.
Yeah.
Like,
You
it's-
showed her how she felt mattered. And like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And guess what? I forgot the trash and she took it out and she was like, "Oh, it's all good. You brush your teeth." And it's like, oh, wow, I'm actually listening. And guess what? After that, what did I do? I bought her flowers.
Yeah.
Because I was happy because all of these things happened. And it's just a spiral
Mm-hmm.
that goes down, saying back to the positivity of
Yep.
like encouraging and helping people. Because let's say you and I have an unbelievable conversation. You might be more receptive to be there for somebody who needs it. I just want to follow in the lead of these great men that I'm
Mhm.
surrounded by that have built these amazing communities, because once you stop caring about yourself, then you build an unbelievable community and everybody just starts helping each other. It's the same thing with like Baker.
Mhm.
Like Baker was my key, one of my main key to like all this Black Rifle stuff years ago.
Mhm.
And we barely talk. When we see each other, we give each other a big bear hug. But for him, it was putting that introduction. And now if Baker hit me up as like, "Hey, I need this," I'll fucking drop everything I'm doing and
Yeah.
doing it for him. Because I will not forget what that man did to me by one phone call.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, similar story with us with him. Like he's introduced me to a lot of people, except I got to you before he introduced me. Thank you very much. It's funny because he mentioned you. I told him we were coming to talk to Neil. And he's like, have you talked to Lucas yet? I'm like, "Yeah, I've actually been talking with him on that." He's okay, cool. You need to talk to him. I was like, "We're gonna do it." But yeah. So now that we solved all the relationship issues in our lives,
Everybody's like,
we could probably wrap up soon just because it's getting late.
okay.
But what's your plans like with your company now that you're with Black Rifle and all that? Do you have any big grand plans for the future?
So the big plans are setting this up to where I can teach, because the whole point of me moving out here, besides to finally get to be with my friends, is create a program for veterans where we're going to fly 1 to 2 vets a month in here to spend a week with me and work in the shop, make them a knife, and then just blacksmithing was incredibly therapeutic for me. And I love sharing that, especially with veterans, and just continue to build a bigger and bigger community, give back to as many guys as I can, host some hammer-ins. Because now, especially being partnered with Black Rifle, I want to start hosting things here where I can bring in guys that I look up to, because who doesn't want to come tour Black Rifle and
Yeah.
do all that? I can learn from it, hopefully through all of these resources we have here, help their business, and just honestly continue with this community and keep building a place that's super safe for everyone, and a place of nothing but like encouragement, positivity, and pushing people to like be their best selves. And I think Evan and everyone here has done an amazing job setting that role model. And I'm just like that little trickle who hopefully I can spread off a whole bunch of roots myself, benefit this company, show Evan that Evan, Matt, Jared, Baker, like everyone who put out their names for me, that it wasn't a waste, that giving me this unbelievable shop isn't a waste of time. And hopefully just continue their legacy through me. And then hopefully have a whole bunch of little roots that boost off me and it just keeps going.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's the goal.
Oh yeah. So social media, all that good stuff. Where can
Grizzly
people find you?
_ Forge. That's the Instagram. The Grizzly Forge is the website, and that is it. If you are trying to get a knife, please be patient. We very blessed that they sell out very fast, but I'm not stopping making them. We're going to keep on pumping them. And I promise when you do get one, it'll be worth it, because it's something that I spent a lot of time on and put a lot of love, sweat, and blood in.
They're beautiful, man.
I really appreciate it.
It's and what you, I think this is awesome how you got, you have the shop here now, you have your community, great things are going to keep happening. That's cool.
I sure hope so.
All right. Well, I guess we're done.
All right.
We get to drive back to Boise now.
Love you. Bye.
Bye, guys.